Hey folks, Steve Munson here. Be warned, in this video there's some graphic content. I'm going to show you how to bleed out a catfish, and then later in the video I'll show you my secret recipe for making catfish taste absolutely fabulous. Welcome to Outdoors 406. Today I'm going to show you how I clean a catfish so I don't have the muddy flavor. I don't like muddy flavor in my catfish. So there's 1,000 ways to clean a catfish, but this is what I've learned that works the best, that gives me the best flavor with no fishy, no muddy flavor in my fish at all. So I'm going to give you a little warning ahead of time that it's a little graphic. You have to bleed these catfish out. I'm going to go ahead and grab this catfish I caught last night on a set line and show you how to do this. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is take the catfish and cut the end of his tail off right here. Need a little better knife here. Then you want to grab him and hold him up like this. And see how he's bleeding out. You want to just let the gravity flow while the heart's pumping, pump them out. And then when they kind of slow down or quit dripping, and just take and grab this and squeeze it and bring it down. And he's going to die one way or the other. This way helps him die quicker, and then when you fillet the meat out, there's virtually no blood left in the meat. If you don't squeeze them and do this, the blood coagulates on the end, kind of plugs. But I've found that this helps make the fish taste so good, gets all this blood out of there. And there you go. That's pretty much it. That's pretty good. And he's pretty much expired, but he's still got a little blood coming down. So just let him keep draining. The bigger they are, the more that they have in them, obviously, but anyway. And that's how I bleed them out, which is a pretty common way to do it, but a lot of people don't do that. I really think it makes a huge difference. I'll show you in a few minutes when I fillet it out how clean the meat is by doing that. Alrighty, I'm going to set the camera up a little closer. Okay, so what I do now is I just take and cut right behind his head and shoulders here, like that, get that cut going. There's a little part right there. And then I take and come right down the top of the back, lay that open like that, and then just start working that down. Hopefully you can see this. Get past that bone there. And then just start filleting that, working it right down the rib cage. Once you take that right down the rib cage, all the way to the bottom of the rib cage. Once you get past the rib cage, then you just take your fillet knife and go right down, get right down and go right down to the bottom of the bone. Fillet them all the way out, like that. See how clean that meat is? I mean, there's hardly any blood in that meat at all. Oh, my phone's going off. Same thing, you want to cut right down the back like this. And then just fillet them on down. I just find this is the cleanest, quickest way to fillet one of these things. Like I say, once you get it past the rib cage and take it and right on down like that and fillet it out like you would anything else. And there you go, another piece of meat just as clean of blood. This little bit that's left on here, rinse right off. And then what you want to do is skin this back part off. I'll do that here in a minute. You clean this board off real quick. Alright, then what I do is just come right underneath like you would any other fish. Stretch them out really good. Oop, I missed it. Well, anyway, all this red meat on the back side of this, you want to get rid of that. So I just take it, once I get this all off, I do a deep V, get all this red meat off. But you can see after, hang on, after cleaning those off, or bleeding those out, there's just no blood virtually in that meat. Rinse them off just a little bit right afterwards, and I mean, just hardly anything. Just cleans them out. I just find that's the best way to do that. Now I wanted to show you what I was talking about, how I do my meat when I get home. So again, here's that fillet. Basically, I just pulled it out of the package out of the bag that I had it in at the river. So this is the red part right here. All this that we need to cut out. And then I kind of pretty much cut out this lateral line, but I'll show you how I do that. Same thing here. I get that red meat out of there. So what I do is, to start out with, I just take and go really flat like this. And I can get most of it just by doing that. But it takes a pretty sharp knife. And you just cut right down that, and I'm going to end up with basically 2 fillets on this one here. And then you'll have these ones that'll have just a little bit on, and you can just come back and just kind of peel it off. I need to sharpen this knife a little bit. Just a hair more in here. Get that off of there. And then you pretty much have a piece of just all white meat. Now there'll be a little yellow up on top. This is kind of up on the very top of the back. And I generally try to cut that off too, because if it's a bigger fish, they say the toxins are in there. But if you get all that red meat off of there, and I'll peel just a little bit more of that off. And I don't keep catfish that are under about 4 pounds, because you just don't get that much meat on them, off of them when you do them like this. But there it is. That one's ready to go. And then I take the other half and I just flip it around and do the same thing. Just cut a really shallow V and get all that red meat off, and that takes that lateral line out at the same time. And that's all the stuff between the blood and all this red stuff is where I believe all the muddy flavor comes in your catfish. And if you like that flavor, a lot of people don't mind that, they're used to it. Then you don't have to go to these extra steps to clean these fish. But I'm not a big fan of that mud flavor. So again, you've pretty much got all that cleaned up. And then you try to get the yellow meat off now. Sometimes you can't really tell where it is completely till you get it all soaked in a brine. But anyway, there we are, good white piece of meat. You'll have a little waste, but that's just the way it is if you want this stuff to taste right. Again, I just go down right along that lateral line, just get that red meat completely off of there. And if there's a little left on here, just peel it down. You'll feel those tendons on that fish. And this is all the meat that was right against the skin when you skinned it out. So there you go, another good piece of meat. Trim this little piece off of here. But I have had people eat this catfish that don't particularly like catfish, that have just absolutely love it because it doesn't taste muddy. I'll do this one a little bit different. But you can see why I don't keep anything under about 4 pounds, because by the time you get done you don't have as much meat as you should. But that's, you know, that's decent. And then I'll show you here in a second. Also, I do a brine that I soak them in for about 24 hours. I went ahead and cleaned up the bass. I do the same thing with them. I get all that red meat off them, so all you got is white meat. So the next thing I do is make a brine that I soak them in for 24 hours. And it's just 1 tablespoon of regular table salt. And this is the secret ingredient. It's the Zatarain's shrimp and crab oil. Put 1 tablespoon of that in as well. So I just put enough water to cover the fillets good. And after you soak them for about 24 hours, this stuff will come out just white, and it gives it a really good flavor. And I haven't done this with the smallmouth bass, but they claim that, I'm going to throw those in there too, that it just takes any of the, if you don't like the gamey flavor of smallmouth bass, it'll do the same thing. So basically you just take an, actually I guess the way to really do this is to put it in there first in the water and then put the fillets in afterwards. Mix it up really good with a mixing spoon or something, but put that in there like that. Throw that there. But boy, this shrimp and crab boil really gives it a good flavor. And I just take it and really mix it up good so that the solution's mixed up good. Just like that. Like I said, it's better to go ahead and mix that stuff up in just water and then stick your fillets in. I should have done it that way. But anyway, then you just have this brine that you put in your refrigerator and keep cool for about 24 hours. Pull it out, and that meat will taste really good, not have any muddy flavor, not have any gamey flavor whatsoever to it. So that's what I do when I prepare my meat, my fish. I'm not a big fish eater, but I really don't like the gamey flavor of it. But after having a lot of walleye, I like it to be more like walleye. So anyway, that's just a trick how I do it, and it seems to work really well. Well, I hope that video was helpful on how to clean a catfish. If you truly want it to be mud-free tasting, that's a good way to do it. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to my channel, and also if you want to be notified, hit the button to be notified when new videos come up.